What's here, y'all? Welcome back to Reddit to Wire. Well, we're going to divert from Saratoga this week to tackle the late pick five at Colonial Downs because it comprises the Arlington Million. And for those of us who remember Arlington Park and remember it fondly, it was one of my favorite weekends of the year. International turf, a great card filled with stakes races, and always the cream of a European crop. You get just some really great fields, and it was an a lot of fun at Miss Arlington Park. So this is kind of bittersweet for a lot of us, but it's nice that they did continue the tradition of the Arlington Million. And Colonial Downs is no slouch. It's a really nice turf course, inner and outer, and so you've got a good all stakes pick five sequence that we're going to take a look at. We'll start with the Andy Guest. It's ungraded at 150,000. It's the seventh race on the card. Run at 5.5 furlongs on the inner turf for 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. And this is this is one of those classic ungraded stakes where there is a fair amount of sameness to the field. You've got a lot of horses pretty similar class wise, and a lot of times these are races that you'll have horses get class relief. They'll come down from the graded ranks to pick up a paycheck. Don't really have that here, to be honest. So it's a pretty formful race. I mean, I think you have a little bit of everything. You've got some pace, you've got some pressers, and you've got some later runners. But as we know, in turf sprints, we want to focus more on the early runners as they tend to control things and they win quite a bit of these races. Bosserati, to me, looked very logical, and at 20 to 1, you have to love the price. It's a very good fit here, and has run with the more prominent horses in this field. So, to me, and of the three early pace pressers, I think Bosserati is one that is more likely to run a good race, and the form is just a little better, a little more consistent than I see from the other two. So Bosserati, I think, is one to keep in your mix, especially at 20 to 1. Mrs. Gambellini for Safi Joseph, Tyler Gaffleone, lethal combination down in South Florida. This one's coming up from Gulfstream, and just on speed alone, seems to have an edge and probably has the right running style. A lot of these, again, I didn't see a lot that were in the greatest of form, to be honest. So I think Mrs. Gambellini probably has a little bit more of an edge in that respect, and that would be my pick for this race. Crown Imperial, I'll be honest, I've never been a big fan of this horse. They, had some promise at 2 years old, and the two-turn efforts just never seem to be able to mature or progress into a graded stakes animal. And so to me, it's always troubling when you see, not troubling necessarily, but it's a concern, let's say, when you see a horse like that all of a sudden now back in turf sprints. And if you look at Crown Imperial's running lines, I don't think this horse has really figured out how to run in a turf sprint yet. Seems to be kind of one paced and was that way around two turns, and that isn't going to win a turf sprint. However, this one does have some natural speed, and for that alone, I would throw in the mix as opposed to some of the others. But I'm reluctant to use, but I sort of have to, I guess, because the form isn't bad. Hollywood Walk is a horse for the course. He likes, or she likes, rather, Colonial. Um, and but the form coming into this race isn't the greatest, and is going to be coming from off the pace in a turf sprint where I don't think it's going to be lickety split out of the gate. I think it's going to be pretty average, moderate to average pace, and that usually spells doom for the later runners. One to talk about, to think about, if you want to go that way, is Alla Breva from Mike Matz. Third off the left is a good spot for him. Mike is a planner. He likes to plot courses for horses, and I wouldn't be surprised if this might be the end game for Alla Breva. She's a late runner. That's really the thing that kills me kills her interest for me in this race. It's just it's going to be extremely difficult for a closer to win in a race that doesn't have a lot of pace to begin with. So, but at 8 to 1 is a decent enough price, and stranger things have happened. But to me, this race is for Mrs. Gambolini. However, I really Basarati to me is pretty dangerous in here at 20 to 1 and shouldn't be overlooked. So let's take a look at the second leg. The second leg of the Pick 5 is the Van Clief Stakes. It's ungraded at 150,000. Eighth race on the card, run at 5.5 furlongs on the outer turf course for 3-year-olds and up. This race initially looks pretty good until you discover that 3 of the more prominent horses, Bear River, Coppola, and No Balls, all ran this last weekend, and so are likely not to run again. So they are highlighted in red, as you can see. And while Bear River at 30 to 1 would absolutely be my pick to win this race, especially at those odds, we're not going to include them in our analysis, mainly because we don't think they're going to run. So if you take away 3, that's a field of 10. It comes back to. And we have some horses that initially that I wasn't keen on thinking about for this race, but now with the scratches and their back class, we sort of have to think about them. Is it Vungu? Vungu is a hard knocker, has been around for a little while, and is a good turf sprinter. I wasn't, in comparison to some of the others, I didn't think the form was as good, but I have to put back in the mix mainly because of the scratches. Same for Nothing Better. Nothing Better is a great horse. I always loved this horse, but the Wolf Hill over at Monmouth last time was not very good, and you just wonder if maybe age is starting to creep in to his form a little bit. But there's nothing to say that he couldn't rebound just because it was a pretty bad and atypical effort for him. So we'll throw Nothing Better in the mix. Is certainly one who could rebound, and if he does, he would be a prime contender here. But I like Horsepower, and mainly I think this race was divided between kind of the old guard and kind of the up-and-comers a little bit, if you will. And of those, the up-and-comers, I like Horsepower. Horsepower has the right trajectory for me. At 15 to 1, you're getting a great price in a race that now without basically the chalk of this race. I mean, now it becomes a very good betting race in some respects. And of the horses in this race, to me, Horsepower has the best form and the best progression to move forward. So at 15 to 1, getting a dynamite price, probably not going to be that at post time based upon the scratches that are likely to happen. But I like Horsepower to win the race. Witty is a very nice horse, but is a sprint closer. Now, you take away a lot of the speed from this race with Coppola in particular or Bear River, then you don't really see that maybe as favorable a pace scenario for a sprint closer that Witty would need. This is a nice horse. This is a horse who always brings it, and I expect fully to be in the money. But asking a horse with a moderate pace that it's expected probably, or not quick, let's say. I don't think the race shape is very favorable to Witty. So underneath only for the one horse. So in a field that's kind of decimated in a race that's probably not as promising as it initially looked, we're going to take Horsepower as the horse on the way up in the Van Clief. Third leg of the Arlington Million Pick 5 is the Secretariat. It's a grade 2, 9th race on the card, running a mile on the inner turf for the 3-year-olds. This is you look at this field and you see a lot of horses who all run and basically do the same thing. We don't really have a confirmed front runner. If I had to pick one, I would likely say Maui Strong. However, Dream On, as we know, is extremely versatile and can go on the lead if necessary, can also come from behind or off the pace. To me, Dream On is the best horse in this race, and that's it. Just uh, the last race that that he ran in, he just was clearly better than your second choice in here, Cairo Caper, or your third choice rather. And this is a horse who just hasn't disappointed. It just continues to progress. Mark Cassie's just loaded with good turf 3 year olds. And I just don't see any way or any reason why Dream On won't win this race. 5-2 seems a gift to me. I would seriously consider singling Dream On in this race because I just don't see. Uh, I just he's the best horse. That's really what it comes down to. Um, Maui Strong is one that I like as a horse because he's honest. He tries real hard every time for Dale Romans, who incidentally is white hot at Saratoga. I believe he's won 3 out of his 4 races in 1 second. So if you're playing the spot, don't overlook Dale Romans at all. Uh, but it always seems to be the same thing with Maui Strong. He just tries real hard, but just there's always people better and horses better rather. You want to put him underneath? I would consider it. I don't see him as a win candidate here. Simulate is pretty logical for Bill Mott, coming in third off the layoff. Had a long spell between the 2 year old and the 3 year old season, but has improved moving forward as a 3 year old and is in that progression. And Bill Mott, he plans things out. And I think this is perhaps the race he was pointing to. Now, the only issue I would say is that his better efforts, Simulate's better efforts, have been with Lasix. And the efforts at 2 years old without him, not as good. Now, with anybody else, I would wonder about it, but I'm pretty sure if Bill Mott puts this horse in the race, that he's confident that Simulate can run fine without Lasix. 8-1 is very square, especially for a Bill Mott horse, and I think one is that you logically would want to include as one that is on an arc to progress. So that, excuse me, Antisocial. I really like. I think this horse is another one that is on the progression, moving forward. I love the price at 10-1, and if you're looking for a counterpart to Dream On, somebody who could perhaps upset the apple cart, I really like Antisocial as one that is certainly getting better at the right time. Now, the last horse we're going to talk about. I want to talk about Cairo Caper a little bit. You might be surprised that I'm leaving off, even though finished, I suppose you could call it a decent second to Dream On last time. I did not like that race for Cairo Caper at all. Uh, Swung out, had tactically had a better position than Dream On. Dream On was at the rear. Uh, Cairo Caper swung out and was wide open and had every chance to win the race, to kick it into high gear, and didn't do it, and just kind of, I don't want to say floundered, but it was just sort of kind of sat there for a little while, and then all of a sudden got it in gear. And when he did so, it was clear he was no match for Dream On whatsoever. Kept on pretty well, but it was that period of waiting to engage that they couldn't get it going, that leaves me to believe that maybe there's still some maturity with this horse. When this horse has stepped it up before, the results haven't been great. And that's kind of what I'm thinking, is a lot of times when you have some maturity issues, when you start stepping up in class, the horses, that's when they sort of backpedal, or they don't do as well as perhaps you might think. So I'm not even going to tempt fate. I'm just going to leave Cairo Caper off at 9-2. That to me is an underlay in comparison to horses like Simulator, Antisocial, who are showing signs that they're moving forward. Finally, we'll talk about Giacoso. Now, I've liked this horse. Those of you who followed my post, I've liked this horse since he was 2 years old. I picked him as an upset in the Iroquois, and damn it, at the top of the stretch, he looked awful good at 37-1 before just sort of flattening out and finishing third. They kept trying to put this horse back on the dirt, in the Risen Star, most notably, and I think they realized at that point this just isn't a two-turn dirt horse, or even a dirt horse for that matter. Tried the Jeff Ruby on synthetic, didn't work out. This horse is obviously better on turf. Uh, the last win was an allowance effort in November at 2 years old. And I compared that to the last effort, I believe it was the American Turf on Derby Day for Giacoso. And uh, the thing that appears the issue to me is while Giacoso ran a pretty good fifth in a key race, where Zulu Kingdom came back to win and the second place finisher came back to win. It was a good race. But this horse is kind of a grinder and takes a little while to get it in gear. And then, so while this horse is the lone horse and will be coming from off the pace, which I always like, and those of you who know in my posts, I always tell you when I see a closer by themselves, I love it. But this horse again is kind of a grinder. So what would likely be required in order for Giacoso to have his best races? You're going to need some pace. Now, granted, we have a lot of horses all wanting to do the same thing, but we also don't really have a horse who's going to be confirmed to be on the engine. So I don't know what kind of pace scenario any of them who tried to gun it from the get-go would probably be at a disadvantage in the finish, except for Dream On. And if Dream On wants to do it, he can do it. I'm not worried about that. So there's a lot of things that have to happen for Giacoso to have a good race. But I do think he can get underneath, but that would be the extent of it. So to me, Dream On is a very potential single, but I really like Antisocial as well in the Secretariat. Fourth leg in the sequence is the Beverly D. It's a grade 2, 10th race on the card, running a mile and 3/8 on the inner turf for 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. And this usually is a pretty darn good race. This is an interesting field. This is a grade 2 in name only. There's 3 horses in here, or 2, I should say, that I don't think belong at all. Spanish Eyes and Chick Shadow. I can't make a case for either of them. I know Brendan Walsh is hard to overlook, particularly in stakes races, but this horse just hasn't posted a speed figure that's even close to what'll need be required to win. This may run better. If you want to put underneath in the exotics or the gimmicks, you go right ahead. But I can't see it. So let's talk about the race shape. It's dominated by early runners, and this is a big distance to have that type of scenario. I don't think there's any doubt Charlene's Dream will be the one on the engine, just because that's the only way she can win this race. And I don't think she's good enough to compete with the likes of Beach Bomb or Be Your Best, particularly when they will be right on her throat latch and not letting her breathe all the way around the track. So the interesting thing to me about this race, more than anything else, is you sort of got the 2 most prominent horses, in my opinion, are Beach Bomb and Be Your Best, and they kind of run the same way. They're going to be up amongst the leaders. Neither one of them needs the lead. They can take it if necessary. And they're going to be stalking and wait for the appropriate time. Well, you look at that and, it almost is one of those things where you kind of want to cancel both of them out because they're both going to be doing exactly the same thing. And separating them is rather difficult. They're both in good form right now. Be Your Best scratched out of a race at Saratoga, probably had to do with the turf quality to run in this one, but has been continuing to work steadily and has been in really good form. Had a win last time out, kind of unexpectedly, and this is a horse that has proven to be a little better than perhaps we thought. So I think Be Your Best is one you certainly have to consider, especially since she's running fresh. Beach Bomb ran a monster last time against She Feels Pretty. Gave her everything that she had, and it did answer the question. This was in the New York Stakes at Saratoga. Whether or not Beach Bomb was a grade one caliber horse, and I think she answered that question yes. Uh, that was a really big time effort. This has been a nice horse, has been progressing well, and is in very good form. I would, if but for the presence of Be Your Best, I would probably pick Beach Bomb to win this. But the fact that they're both going to be doing the same thing, uh, I'll give the edge to Beach Bomb. I think is a little bit better right now, but it's just the fact that they're both doing the same thing that leads me to try to find somebody else. So looking at this field, the rest of them, like I say, Spanish Eyes, I just can't see it, and Chick Shadow, while having a positive record at Colonial, hasn't run a commensurate figure of late to win this. And at 8 years old, I don't think it's likely we're going to see a career high. So I settled on Duvet Day from Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy, I mean, ever since he lost his house, I guess he just decided to stay in the East for a while because it seems like he's showing up at every East Coast track. Monmouth, Saratoga, and now Colonial. I don't mean to make light of that, but I've really come to like Mike McCarthy as a trainer very much. And you're getting Duvet Day third off the layoff. This horse has been running well, will be coming from off the pace, and that's really the appeal more than anything else. And this is a horse I think is sitting on a big effort and perhaps a career effort. Will have a favorable setup mainly because, I mean, I don't think the pace is going to be quick. It might be a little spirited, but it's not going to be like white hot fast or anything. But it's just more the fact that you've got the uh, three of the horses who are most prominent in this race are all going to be right up knocking heads with each other, and I think that's going to open things up for another horse. And who better do you want than Johnny Velasquez in the irons with that type of scenario? I'm surprised to see Duvet Day favored. I was kind of hoping for a price there, and it's a little surprising to me. I mean, I think, you know, if I was making this morning line, Beach Bomb would be my favorite, and Be Your Best would be the second choice. I'd probably have Duvet Day at, I don't know, somewhere like 9-2, maybe 5-1, but and I'd have Chick Shadow at 30-1, and Spanish Eyes. I just can't see it. How you get 9-2? I just don't see it. It's just not enough there. So. Uh, Spanish Eyes certainly could surprise, but I have to be able to justify it on paper, and I just can't do it right now. So, because of the type of scenario we have, Duvet Day is my pick to win it, with a very close second to Beach Bomb in the Beverly D. The last leg of the Pick 5 is, of course, the featured race, the Arlington Million. It's a Grade 1, 11th race on the card, running 1.25 miles on the outer turf for 3-year-olds and up. And it's an interesting field, led, of course, by who? Mystic Dan. Yes, Mystic Dan is running on turf for the first time. I guess Kenny McPeak, I would have to believe after the Stephen Foster, where basically Mystic Dan got the perfect trip. He ran well. I think he ran as good a race as he possibly could have run, and he only finished fourth. He's clearly not a Grade 1 horse. I'm sorry to say, those of you who like him. I've never been the biggest fan of his, but I have been impressed to a degree with the way he's run this year. He's just not a Grade 1 horse. I know he won the Kentucky Derby, but that's 3-year-olds. It's not, older, more established horses he's running against. And I think we'd all agree that was a pretty fortunate trip, let's say. But that's past history. Let's talk about now. Harvey Pack once said, as I've quoted it before, you never bet on a horse who's doing something for the first time. Mystic Dan, I'm sure, can get to turf. I don't have any doubt about that. It's not Kenny McPeak's forte. We know that too. He doesn't run a lot of horses on the turf. Uh, in this field, looking at it, I mean, quality wise, think you'd have to say he matches well with this group. The real question is, as is often the case with Kenny McPeaks, is which Mystic Dan shows up. There, and if turf is not his preferred surface, I mean, if he can get it, that's fine. But if it's not his preferred surface, or a surface he can thrive on, then 9-2 isn't that great a price. If he loves it, 9-2 is a great price. Which one is it? I'm not sure. I don't think any of us are. I'm going to use him without a doubt. I'm going to put him more underneath. I can't bet him to win without a little more evidence of his ability to run on the turf. So there's Mystic Dan. Now let's just talk a little bit about the race shape. It's pretty straightforward. You've got a confirmed front runner, Time Song, and he's likely going to get some company from Cairo, Runaway Storm, likely, and maybe even Mystic Dan. We'll see how keen they are with him on the turf. But I think the fractions will be honest, maybe a little on the slow side. Obviously, none of these, if they gun it up front, are really have much of a chance in the race. So, that does make for an interesting scenario, particularly when you have Cairo in the mix, who finished third in the Queen Anne at Royal Ascot last time at a mile, and Rosalian is one of the best milers in the world, and Docklands just loves Royal Ascot. So he's in pretty good form, but he doesn't win a lot, and so he's kind of hard to trust. And at 7-2, that's a that's kind of a prohibitive price for a horse who, let's face it, that those odds are coming mainly because he's shipping in from Europe against our turf horses. He may validate it, he may not. Tactically, he should be in a pretty good position ahead of the later runners. But can I, overly trust him? Not necessarily. So Cairo, we're going to definitely use. But this is a field. In my individual post on this race, I talked about it. You've got a lot of underachievers. Horses who have promised that better things, who haven't quite got there. So that makes for a good betting race, and sometimes a hard race to bet because none of them are easy to trust. Let's face it. So, and no more so than Grand Sonata. Now, he's dual entered in the Sword Dancer at Saratoga. I personally think this would be a much better spot for him. It's a little bit of a class relief. He had a good second in the United Nations, but as the case with Grand Sonata, you're always kind of wanting more. You think he's going to give you a little bit more, and he never really does. The last win he had at Kentucky Downs, I remember that race vividly. He had a dream trip. He had the rail, and he was able to scoot right through and get up in time. But since then, and throughout the course of his career, he seems to find trouble. There always seems to be something that holds this horse back. I think he fits here, competition-wise, and I think the price is the best at 8-1. Frankly, of all the horses, he's my second choice in this race because he is in good form. But can you overly trust him? Not really. We settle on integration, and real simple reason: he's 3 for 4 at Colonial Downs in 1 second. So he's 100% in the money. It's a track he likes. He won the Secretariat here. Going 1.25 miles, I don't think is going to be a problem for this horse. And the race shape is, again, it's not an ideal pace scenario, but I think on class alone that he can win this race. Again, he's one that, you're always wanting for a little more from this horse, aren't we? I mean, he's flashed it at times, but he hasn't got a grade 1 yet, and maybe this is the time, because this is more of a grade 2 field, I would say. But he's certainly a good fit here, and it's hard to bet the favorite in what I consider to be a good betting race. But honestly, I think you can make the best case for integration. So am I 100% on it? Not really, but I just think he sets up the best for him here. Fort Washington is a horse that y'all who follow my posts, I've never been the biggest fan of this horse. This is another one who's more content to be the bridesmaid. He did have we had a little bit of prosperity last year, a couple of wins in a row. But you see on his last race, and then go a couple back, the note left lead. Well, that tells me maybe it's between the ears with this horse. Could he win this race? Sure. But again, very hard to trust. I think this is probably a class level is a very good fit here. And I would certainly use Fort Washington under. But based upon his prior track record, I just can't put him on top. And at 4-1, I don't like the price really at all. So we're going to go with integration in the Arlington Million. So let's take a look at our ticket. Okay, so here's what our ticket looks like for the Arlington Million All Stakes Pick 5. Certainly, when we have two turf sprints, we're going to have to spread in either of them or both. And I have a little more confidence in the first leg, the seventh race. We'll go with 2, 5, and 9. Mrs. Gambolini looks pretty strong to me in there. But Balsarati at 20-1, and this is the thing. I'll just say that right off the bat. We're going to spend a little more on this ticket than we normally do because I think there's definitely some prices in here that can hit, particularly in the turf sprints. And if they do, we want to make sure that we can cover it when we get to the chalkier races late. So in leg 2, race 8, we're going to go with 5, 11, and 13. Horsepower, I think, is the one that is on the way up and is the most appealing, and you're getting a price again. So leg 7 and 8, we get some prices home, and we're looking pretty good. Leg 3, race 9, you could almost single in the Secretariat Dream On to me, but I do like Antisocial, and again, another price at 15-1. So if for some reason Dream On does falter, I like Antisocial, and if we get that one home, then we're really looking good. Leg 4, the Beverly D, race 10. We're going to go with the 6 as our primary selection, but we'll also throw in the 3 as well. And then finally in the Arlington Million, leg 5, race 11, we're going to go with 5, 7, and 8. But I really like integration. In a field chock full of underachievers, I think this is the one. This is a good scenario. The distance is right. And I think it's about time integration wins a grade 1. So 3 times 3 times 2 times 2 times 3, that's a $108 ticket on a $1 base. So obviously if you want to play for 50 cents, it's only $54. But I think this is a really good betting sequence. Must admit that the fields aren't quite what they used to be for the Arlington Million, but as handicappers and as bettors, we do still have some value, and that's the most important thing is the ROI, isn't it? So that's the Arlington Million Pick 5. Hope our analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy. I wish you the best of luck as always. And certainly if you do like content like this, please like and subscribe. And again, thanks to all of you who continue to support and grow our community. We will have our full card selections for Saratoga on the website, and we do have an individual post on Saturday's featured stakes race, the Sword Dancer, for you to take a look at. As always, we're going to try to get some Delmar in there if we time permitting. So be on the lookout for that. Maybe some more content this week. So that's it from here. I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.